Welcome to the PewterCast. This is our off-season tour, and it continues to roll right along here through, well, the off-season. We've had a lot of fun episodes so far this season, 16 of them to be exact, but today's episode, this is the first one where we're really kind of turning the corner here at the midway point of the off-season and getting a preview of what our 2018 football season could look like, specifically having to do with the roster. I'm Brent Allen. I'll be your host for the next hour and change, and joining us tonight, as always, the man with whom I'm apparently building a podcasting empire with, Ren Daxt. Ren, how's it going, my friend?
Yeah, we put our first Star Trek pod in the can the other night. We were supposed to do this Buccaneer podcast, or the PewterCast. We were supposed to do it the same night, but we got a late start, and then once Brent and I start talking Star Trek, man, we just go talk about a rabbit hole. We think our pods are bad about how we get off subject. I'll tell you what, and that sort of was the brainchild. That was sort of like, we should do a podcast since we could just sit here and talk for an hour about it.
Turns out all we have to do is just press record and go, and that's a whole other show in and of itself.
Exactly. So, yes, the empire of two separate pods. But, yeah, it's, rookie mini camp starts this weekend. The list came out for, all the rookies going to be there. So we have decided to do our way too early 53-man roster predictions.
And we're going to be doing this a little bit in a different way. When we've done this before in the past, Ren, kind of what you do is you go through and you'd say, okay, quarterback position, how many of those are we going to keep? Okay, we're going to keep 3, but there's 4, so who's out? And running backs, how many of those are we going to... We're not going to do it that way this year. What we're going to do this time is we'll go position by position, and we'll talk about who we think is really kind of a lock for the roster. But then we're going to talk about, okay, who are those 2, maybe 3 guys that we're going to be watching in camp who are going to be battling for that last spot. Well, with that, Ren, why don't we go ahead and get into it? To the PewterCast. For this show today, I kind of already said it. We are going to go position by position through the roster, Ren, and we're going to see how many of each group we're keeping, and we're going to list those names. But really, we're going to be talking about kind of those bubble players. Who's going to stay? Who's going to go? Who are we kind of interested in that we've brought in to see, who's going to fill out this 2018 Buccaneers squad? Now, Ren, you're going to be back at camp this year, giving us a fan in the stands account of training camp. The Journal will be back?
That is the plan.
Yes.
That is the plan. It is not officially in stone, but I would say it's over 90%.
Right. So
we're putting it out there. It's going to happen.
Putting it out there, yeah. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't. So
I'll probably have broken my leg or something.
You will have a reduction in your paycheck, Ren. So let's see here. So anyway, but a lot of these names, Ren, the reason I bring that up is not to just promote it a little bit, but also to say these are really kind of those names that, you could be talking to us about, that you'll be keeping an eye out for. So why don't we go ahead and jump into it? And why don't we start off where we always start off, the most important spot on the team, the quarterback position.
Oh, quarterback, gotcha.
Kicker, no, quarterback position. Now, a little caveat to all of this. The list that I have actually comes officially from Buccaneers.com. Ren, you've got a little bit of a different list. Yours is probably actually more accurate because for whatever reason, Buccaneers.com is not always the most accurate source of information when it comes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't get it.
On the roster,
yeah.
They're not quick to update.
No, they're not. But I think everybody that I'm personally looking for is actually listed on the team roster. So it's okay for me. But you might have a guy or two that I don't. So let's start with the quarterback position, Renan, and I'll throw it to you first. Who's a lock? Who are you interested in watching? This one should probably be fairly easy.
I don't know. Obviously, the lock is going to be Jameis Winston.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we knew what the suspension was, then, if he would say Jameis is going to miss the first 2 games, I would probably put Fitz in as a lock. Now, if Jameis doesn't get suspended at all, I think it's up for grabs again. Ryan Griffin, we've said it many times. I've heard other beat reporters talk about it that, we thought Ryan Griffin was winning the backup job. Fitz looked terrible. I mean, terrible in training camp. He looked bad. But, when the lights came on, he took the Bucs to him on record when he had to. So, and they brought him back and re-signed him. So,
and to be fair with that, something we learned about Fitz last year was when he got in that game that he had to come in for, was it the Buffalo game or something? He had to come in and finish out the game for Jameis.
Oh, Arizona.
The Arizona game. He said that when that moment occurred, he remembered just how much he liked playing. It kind of made a little bit of sense of why he might have been, because it really felt like in camp he was just sort of sloughing it off and going through the motions. So hopefully that has turned the corner. But I'm with you. Ryan Griffin certainly looked like he was winning that job last year.
So for this exercise, as it stands right now, because we don't know what's going on with the suspension, I am locking all 3, and I am Austin Allen, I think he's at Arkansas, camp arm, this year's CFO Blue Cow,
right.
CFO Blue Cow. So those are my locks for QB. I'm going with 3. I know last year Cutter said he wanted to go with 2.
Mm-hmm.
They did end up going with 3, even because Ryan Griffin was on IR for half the year.
Mm-hmm.
But then by the time he came back, then Winston was down, so he was actually the backup. Right. And then by the time Winston came back, the year is already over, record-wise. And it's like, well, let's just protect Ryan and see where we are next year. And here we are. So I'm going with 3 at the QB position.
Yeah, I am a little bit different from you on that. I am locking in Jameis Winston and Ryan Fitzpatrick. If we are, I feel like they're really trying to get to 2 quarterbacks this year. They really wanted. I think they wanted to do it last year. They did, but that was only because, as you mentioned, the injury to Ryan Griffin from preseason because of your favorite player, Ren.
Cole Gardner.
And so with that, I think that Ryan Fitzpatrick is a lock to be back unless he just has a ridiculously bad training camp. But I think they like him. I think they like him as a backup to Jameis should something happen. And I think that this could be the year that it's either Griffin. I'm interested to see what happens with Griffin. If Griffin comes out and has a terrific camp, he might earn himself that last spot. He might earn himself a spot again. But I think this might be the year that we actually say goodbye to Ryan Griffin as well.
Yeah,
and I'm interested to find out. I'm interested to see. So
once again, if I think it's 0 game suspension, I think it's an open competition. Mm-hmm. If there is a suspension, I think it's a lock for Fitzpatrick, and then that might just, like you said, push Ryan out the door.
Mm-hmm. It's possible. It is possible because you have Ryan Griffin, a man who is now in his 4th year in the league. I want to say
5th. I think it's 5th.
5th year in the league. We have never seen this man in a uniform in a regular season game.
Never taken up an NFL snap.
He's never even dressed. So
no.
Yeah, he has never even dressed.
No, he dressed for when Jameis was out, didn't he?
No.
He didn't?
No.
Who was our backup quarterback?
No. Was that Mike Glennon? When
Fitz started those 3 games?
No, Griffin was still on injury. Was on injury reserve. So that's a good question. Who was the backup quarterback?
I think you're right. Was it Humphreys?
It was like somebody else on the team who could do it if they needed to. Like
Adam played. He's a good athlete. He played with a quarterback in Pop Warner. Let's give him the ball.
I could throw the ball. All right. Well, let's move over to the backfield, sharing the backfield with our quarterback. The running back position, Who do you got locked in? Who are you looking at here in training camp?
Ronald Jones, lock. Peyton Barber, lock. Besides that, I think it's pretty open.
Yeah. Of course, the other two big names there being Chuck Sims and Jacquizz Rodgers. You think that's still a question mark on those two guys?
Well, it depends. Like, I know nothing about Dalton Crossman or Sean Wilson. I don't know anything about them. But, you know, Rodgers was walking the street 2 years ago. The only reason he had a job is because of NFL nepotism. Dirk Cutter knew him and had him on the Falcons. Mike Smith knew him, had him on the Falcons. They know what he can do. If those guys didn't have, you know, if Dirk Cutter didn't have a head coaching job, you know, I don't think, you know, Chris Rodgers would have a job in the NFL. He's replaceable. Sims, you know, great in space, but he's super one-dimensional. So
Sims gets on the field, we know what's going to happen.
Right? Yeah.
You know.
They're going to throw the ball.
I mean, seriously, and this is a complaint that I have. How many times did Charles Sims come in for a third down situation, and when he was on the field, they did not go to him?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what percentage of time when he was on the field did he get the ball? Like, when you talk about being predictable, that is really, for me, an issue that I have with Charles Sims, because he's on the field, they're going to throw the ball to him. Doesn't matter what else is going on. And I really want to see us break out of that. Even if we stay with Charles Sims this year, even if he's on the team, I just, you know, use him but don't use him.
To me, it falls down to execution again. I mean, you know, I've talked about it past podcasts. Like, did the Patriots even run the ball the second half of the Super Bowl when they played Atlanta? You know, it's like, okay, so Charles is on the field, so you're going to throw it, okay.
Right.
So execute. You know, it's like, it's 3rd and 11. You're going to throw it. Everyone knows you're going to throw it. So what's it matter who's on the field? Just do your job and execute.
Let me ask you this about Charles Sims. And I don't know that I've ever asked you this, so you might have to think about it for a little bit before actually answering.
Sure.
But it seems to me as if Charles Sims, his quality of play is linked to whomever is the primary ball carrier. And I say that to say, like, if you go back to last year specifically, when Doug Martin was the primary ball carrier through those first, 11 games or so, 12 games, Charles Sims was very mediocre. Like, he was, there was nothing super flashy, but when Peyton Barber actually got in there and was the primary ball carrier, Charles Sims seemed to kind of come on a little bit and kind of have those flashes back to what we remember. I don't want to say greatness of Charles Sims, but
the best he's been.
Yeah.
Here.
Like, does that ring true to you as I say that? Because that was more of I don't have numbers to back it up. That was just a sense that I remember from last year.
So if the back in front of him is doing well, then he'll do well.
Yeah.
But if the back in front of him is not, he tends to not do well.
Yeah, it's some weird correlation with him. Like,
I think that's fair. I don't think there's anything to it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, I think it's just sort of worked out that way. It's like, you know, there's nothing. I mean, and you're not going to get it out of them. Hey, Charles, it seems that when the second down back does well, you do well. When they don't, you don't. Are you trying to stay below the bar?
Right.
It's like, you know, wherever they set the bar, do you have to stay like right underneath it? So yeah, I mean, you know, total quinky dink. But yeah, I see. I think you're right.
So as far as this position goes, for me, I'm logging in three guys that I think are surefire to make this roster, and Charles Sims is one of those, and it's the other two guys you said. Yeah, Peyton Barber and Ronald Jones. I think Jacquizz Rodgers is really on the bubble on this one. And another thing specifically with this position, I wonder if they're not trying to get back to running a three-man running back spot on the roster. Because if you remember a few years ago, it was Doug Martin, Charles Sims, Mike James. Those were the only active guys on the 53-man roster, and Mike James was usually inactive for a game. So last year they ran 4. Dirk Cutter in his
5 sometimes.
Yeah, right. Yes, Dirk Cutter in his sit-down breakfast with media mentioned we keep 4 running backs. So that might lend you to saying that they are going to try to stick with 4 running backs again. But you know, it seems to me like they're going to want these precious positions for other spots on the team, you know, and It's possible, unless he's just super loyal to Jacquizz Rodgers, which we know Dirk Cutter is. I feel like of those four, Jacquizz Rodgers is the most redundant, and we could see him on the street, come the end of training camp.
Right. I think they're going to keep 4 too, and you could definitely see a backfield of Ronald Jones, Barber, Rodgers, and Sims. I mean, those are probably the favorites. But I don't think Rodgers or Sims has their jobs gifted to them, kind of like they did last year.
Right. Well, they certainly, I think, will be the two to watch in training camp. These other guys, as you mentioned, the Sean Wilson and the Dalton Crossman, unless they just, blow up in camp, it's they could be that dark horse, that rumor mill of, they really like him, like the Anthony O'Clair from last year or something like that.
Right.
Who's that guy. So, all right. Well, speaking of Anthony O'Clair, let's go ahead and talk about the tight end position.
Okay.
What do you got for us? Who's your lock? Who are you watching for in camp?
Ooh, who are my lock? All right, I got Brate, lock. O.J. Howard probably going to make it.
He might. I'm not sure.
Right.
On the bubble.
Like you said, I think they like Anthony O'Clair.
They liked him enough to feel comfortable releasing Luke Stockard mid-year.
Right.
And promoting
him.
So.
And then that's it. And then I think the rest of the guys battle it out with the guys that are closest is going to be Alan Cross, this guy they got from, I believe, Western Michigan. I'm not sure on that. Donnie Erzberger.
Yeah.
And then Austin Johnson.
Yeah.
Who's actually a fullback, but so is Alan Cross, really.
Right. And they're going to combine the fullback tight end position and use them together.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Straight down the line, it's O'Clair, Howard, and Brate are locked in for sure. The other three guys are the ones to watch. And
then you got Tanner Hudson and Jason Reese.
Yeah.
Which of course we know nothing about, but those are other guys that'll be trying to be this year's O'Clair.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, it's, and the thing about that, Austin Johnson, I don't think has ever made a 53-man roster with the Buccaneers, although he has been around for a couple of years.
Yeah, he keeps coming back. They keep bringing him back, so they like him.
Right. Alan Cross is a guy who has been up and down on the 53-man roster and then released and then on the practice squad and then back on the 53.
Right.
So his position is far from secure.
Right,
to say the least. Far from secure, but
he made it his rookie year, but that was because there really wasn't anyone better. Not that he didn't earn it, but then they had a draft. They ended up getting O.J. Howard. They ended up getting Auclair and paid some pretty big undrafted free agency money to bring him in. And the year started, and Alan Cross was on the practice squad.
Right.
He ended up moving up because Howard got hurt. As people get injured, he was like one of the first call-ups and, finished the year on the 53-man roster. But, even though we all love him, Mark Cook's illegitimate son, he's got to earn it again this year.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember his name in the locker room, his nickname in the locker room?
Honcho.
All right, well, moving on, let's fan out from there. Our wide receiver position. This is one of those positions I think, in other years we would debate how many people we're going to keep, how many wide receivers we're going to keep. But what do you got? What do you have as locks? And who are you watching on this one?
Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Deshaun Jackson, and Adam Humphries. Those are my 4. They usually carry 5. That leaves Sergio Bailey, Jake Lampman, Devin Lucien, Freddie Martino, who's been hanging around since Cutter got here, Irv, my U's and my V's, I apologize, Irv Phillips out of Syracuse, who was actually an undrafted free agent, Justin Watson, the draft choice, and of course Bobo Wilson.
Yeah.
So the guys I'll be keeping an eye on is Justin Watson, who I think is probably going to make the team, and Bobo Wilson. I think that's really going to sort of be the battle. And then I think Irv Phillips could be the dark horse. But Martino, I think he's just going to be, it's a numbers game for him.
Yeah.
If you haven't made the team in 3 years and the competition keeps getting better,
Martino's one of those guys, it's that bottom 10 spots on the roster that continually get turned over all season long.
Right.
Which is why I'm always so adamant that when we get to the 53 in August or September, it's not the final 53, it's just the initial 53 because it's going to continue to change. And Martino's one of those guys kind of like Alan Cross. I hate to say it and put it in these terms, but they keep trying to replace him. Yeah, they keep trying to upgrade him. So nothing against him. I'm glad for him to be around, and just as a human being, I hope he does well. But at the same time, if we can upgrade that position, I'm okay to upgrade that position. And now as far as me, I feel like, and I think I could be way wrong on this, but like this draft class, I've only got one guy who's a question mark to me. And Justin Watson is not it. I feel like Justin Watson's going to be a lock. Yeah. I feel like Justin Watson is a lock to make this team. And it's possible they could try to put him on practice squad come the end of camp, but I feel like they're really going to get him. So I added him as the number 5, and I've got Bobo Wilson as the other guy I'm watching to see what they do with him, because I think he's another guy that they really liked a lot last year. Hard Knocks, again, it could have just been editing, could have been whatever. Seemed like there might be some attitude issues there.
But they have come out and said that he's really improved.
Yeah.
I mean, they and said, that Bubba Wilson is sort of, I don't know if he came to it on his own or somebody got a hold of him and it's like, look, you're professional now, son. This crybaby back talking stuff,
I don't get a chance. You're not giving me an opportunity. Well.
Then it was like, we compete. Like, I don't know what this crap is. Like, he's basically telling the coaches of a pro team, like, you guys aren't running your practices right, because at Florida State, this is what we did. And it's like, okay. And then when, hey, guys, stay in town. We'll give you a call. You need to, we're going to get you on the practice squad or get you on the roster. And they call him and he's in Miami.
Right.
And Jason Light almost, you saw it on Hard Knocks, almost said, call him back and tell him to forget it. Yeah. And he's like, no, let me calm down. But apparently he's made some strides. He's fast. And when he got in, in the preseason, he returned a punt, and I think he did a jet sweep, and he got a lot of positive yards. So, he's quick, so he's electric with the ball in his hands. But with Justin Watson, to your point, I think if all things being equal, he will get the 5th spot, but he could just come out and fall flat on his face. This is a big step up for him. But Jason Light really likes him. He's been talking about inside the walls, from the beginning, how this is going to be a late round sleeper guy that's really going to do something in this league. So he's going to definitely get every opportunity to prove it.
So I want to throw something else at you here about the wide receivers before we move on.
Sure.
One name to watch. To me, one person that I find very interesting is going to be Adam Humphries. And it's not that I don't think he's a lock to make the team, because I've got him down as a lock for the team. However, if there's a team out there that might come knocking to looking to make a trade, this might be the area where we could make a trade if Jason Light's looking to do something. And I think of all the people that we have, Adam Humphries is probably the most tradable asset that we have in a position that seems like we're fairly deep at. So I say that to just say, I'm not saying that I'm hoping he gets traded. I'm not saying that I think he should get traded. I'm just saying, as these GMs continue to talk throughout the offseason, as injuries will happen through camp and different things like that, if somebody picks up the phone and says, hey, you've got this guy that you just offered a 1-year, restricted free agent tender offer on him, and nobody else came knocking, would you be interested in trading him? If he could get a 4th or a 5th rounder or something out of him. Keep an eye. I'm just saying, keep an eye on that. I don't have any inside information.
No, I agree with you. And Trevor Sickham at Pewterport sort of, I think, hit it right on the head. Right when Justin Watson was drafted, he just, they were doing their live streaming broadcast, and he just looked up and said, Adam Humphries replacement. And I think that's it. It's a guy who's got all the tools. He's a little bigger than Adam, but Adam's making $3 million this year.
Yeah.
we're coming up to where we got to sign Quan, got to sign Allen, got to sign Donovan.
He'll be a cap casualty.
He's going to be a cap casualty because to keep him, you're going to have to pay him like $4 or $5 million.
Yep.
And when you got guys like Bobo Wilson and Justin Watson behind him on rookie deals, basically
rookie years that are under. Some of them are under. Bobo Wilson's league minimum, which is only $465. That's under $500,000. You compare that to $3, $4, $5 million. That extra money will buy you another lineman somewhere or something.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm with you on somebody comes calling.
Yeah.
And I think he's probably the only of the four that the Bucks are willing to part ways with. Mm-hmm. Now, I'll just throw this out there. Maybe Deshaun Jackson, because I believe, and I think most Buck fans that have thought it through believe, that he's not going to be here next year. Mm-hmm. We haven't exactly had fireworks between him and Jameis. Not that it's his fault. He's been great since he's been here. He's done everything he's been asked to do and more. I think he's a pro's pro, which was something I wasn't expecting at all when he got here. Mm-hmm. But if somebody comes and wants to give you, like you said, a third, a fourth, and you have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Hump, and a Justin Watson, a Bobo Wilson, maybe even Irv Phillips waiting in the wings. It's draft picks. You see, Jason Light and draft picks. Those things are gold. So
and look at what he did with 8 draft picks this year. I don't know if that's the most number of draft picks he's had since he's been here. This was his 5th draft, I think. But that is certainly something. All right, moving on. Let's just keep this rolling. Talking about the offensive line. Now, this is usually one of the bigger groups that we have. Obviously, this one and the defensive line being the 2 biggest groups. We know that historically the Bucks keep 9. I've got 8 locked in, Ren. I don't know how many you have, but I'll let you go first with this. Who do you got locked in? Who are you watching for come camp?
All right, let's do the lock-in. I got Caleb Benenocht.
Uh-huh.
Got Alex Kappa.
Uh-huh.
Got Demir Dotson.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Jensen.
Mm-hmm.
Ali Marpet.
Mm-hmm.
Donovan Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my locks.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, who could take this? Cole Gardner, which is back on the team, the guy who got Ryan Griffin hurt and killed and is my arch enemy. And I was so happy to see him go in the background of Hard Knocks. Nothing personal. But when I went
loved that van, the van of shame.
When I with his garbage bag of shame, like, get out of here, Cole. But when I went on and found the 90-man or 91-man roster for the Buccaneers, and I saw Cole Gardner, I'm like, when did that guy get, like, I feel like Buccaneers media knew that I would throw a fit, so they just sort of like no announcement. We're just going to sneak that in there. Anyway, we have 2 Coles: Cole Boozer, Cole Gardner, Adam Geddes, Mike Ledecky, who has been on the team.
By the way, Adam Geddes was on the active 53-man roster for the last 2 weeks of the year last year. He wasn't in the active roster for the game. He was an inactive for both of those games, but he was on the 53-man roster.
You are correct. That's when Allie went down and Sweezy was down and Dotson was down. We got a guy, Gibbons Price, Brad Seaton. We have Evan Smith, who's, been bouncing around with us for a while, J.R. Sweezy, and Leonard Wester. Mm-hmm. Now, so what's that? What did I say? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6?
You had 6 locks, yeah.
So I had 6 locks. So I think it's going to be, and it's pretty straightforward with this. I honestly don't think Sweezy's going to be there. Mm-hmm. I think once he gets healthy, we're going to cut him as a cap casualty, and just like his back injury just took away. He's not the same player anymore. Mm-hmm. Then you got Mike Ledecky, you got Leonard Wester, and Evan Smith. So between I think those are the guys. Mm-hmm. I don't think Cole Gardner's going to make it. I don't really know enough about these guys if they're going to make a push to Ledecky or a Wester. Mm-hmm. But it seems that Bucks like to hang on to their linemen.
Yeah.
Once they've been called as a 53-man, they sort of hang around. like Ledecky and Wester.
Mm-hmm.
Wester was one of those guys, sort of like this Igwe Buike kid, safety we'll get to, Godwin Igwe Buike.
Mm-hmm.
Wester was also somebody they paid a big free agent, undrafted free agent price tag to get him in camp, and he stayed around.
Yep.
Last year it was Arclair. This year it's this kid, safety, Godwin Igwe Buike.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think Lester hangs around too, but for his locks, it's Benenoch, Kappa, Dotson, Jensen, Marpet, and Donovan Smith.
It's basically your starting line with Alex Kappa.
Right.
Sure.
Or Caleb Benenoch.
Or Caleb Bennett, yeah. We'll see. Certainly a name. While he is definitely a lock for the roster, actually both of these guys locks for the roster. Two guys to watch in camp is going to be Caleb Benenoch and Alex Kappa. Because to see the big question mark is Alex Kappa going to start day one? A lot of people say no. I think they're probably right about that, but who knows? He could come out and completely surprise us. If you think I'm not even going to say Ali Marpet. If you think like Quan Alexander, a guy that we drafted in the 4th round, okay, cool, fine, whatever. Hey, could be a cool pickup, and then all of a sudden he comes into camp and blows up.
Yeah.
Alex Kappa has all the makings of somebody who could do that. At the same time, he really has a guy that could and probably should be a little bit more developmental, kind of like Caleb Benenoch has been.
Right.
But maybe he makes a little bit more noise. I hope he does. I'm with you on the J.R. Sweezy thing. I think he's out of here as soon as he gets healthy. The only reason they're hanging on to him is so they don't have to pay him. They can cut him once he's healthy, give him a couple days in camp, and then be done.
Right.
But Michael Leedkey, I know you keep saying Ledecky. It's Leedkey. Leedkey.
That's fair.
It's weird. It's a very weird spelling for if you've never seen it. It's very, very weird. But
you're talking about Ledecky, right?
Yeah, Leedkey. Michael Leedkey. He's not a lock, but he's one I'm definitely watching. I think Leonard Wester is a lock, but the other guy out of here that I'm really watching. No, the other one is Adam Geddes, because I want to see this guy. They thought enough of him to put him on the 53-man roster when we had some injuries last year. I'm curious.
Yeah.
We've never seen him play. Like, I'm curious to watch him. But the other guy I'm really looking at is this Brad Seaton guy. He's a tackle. I have voiced my opinion, my concerns, not opinions, but really my concerns about DeMar Dotson.
Right.
It's just he's coming off a great year, so we all automatically want to think he's going to have another fantastic year this year, and I'm just not sure. I'm not certain.
Plus, he can't stay healthy. He's missed a good chunk of games the past 3 seasons.
Right. So
history would tell you that eventually someone else is going to be finishing the season at right tackle.
Right. I think that DeMar Dotson might be one of those guys. His body gives out on him before his heart gives out on him. Kind of a Gosder Shirless type situation. Only I hope he goes out without the Gosder Shirless debacle that we had when he went in for 2 games. So, and I hope that all of my concerns are put to rest and DeMar Dotson just goes out there and obliterates people this year. But that's really that Brad Seaton guy is kind of the most interesting guy to me outside of the Alex Kappa.
What do you know about him?
Do you know anything?
Do you know anything about him?
He's a real big guy. He's a tackle. He was here last year.
Okay.
He was here last year.
Kind of familiar.
Yeah, and they brought him back. I think they had him on a futures contract by the end of the year last year. So they brought him back. He's a tackle. He's a big guy. He's apparently fairly athletic. That percolates him to the top of somebody that I'm interested in watching, especially with the concerns that I have about the tackle position.
Right.
In depth over there. So, but that Michael Leedkey, Leonard Wester, those guys are both tackles as well. So, we'll see what happens there. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up the offense there, Ren. Before we hop over to the defense, mostly just because it's all on the same page for me. Special teams, as far as we have that, Chandler Catanzaro is going to be our kicker. I don't care who else they bring in. Brian Enger is going to be our punter. I don't care who else they're trying out. And Drew Ferris, I believe, is our long snapper. I think that's the name of our new long snapper.
Yes. The only other guy they have signed, they have some for tryouts, but that's probably like even super camp. Like there's a kid named Trevor Moore. He's also a kicker.
Right.
But you know,
I'm not even watching him. Like,
yeah, it's going to be those three. Yeah. Catanzaro has to have an Aguayo type preseason for this Trevor Moore kid.
Because what they give him, like $3-4 million to come in or something like that?
Like a 3-year deal.
Right. So, like, I mean, because Nick Folk came in on a 1-year, $750,000 guaranteed contract, you know, and that was enough to really push Aguayo out. So, you know, Catanzaro's not getting – no. You're right. He would have to have a disastrous preseason to get knocked out.
Right. Exactly. So.
And they won't.
Well, of the 44 players that are on the offense right now on the 91-man roster, I have 18 locks.
Oh, I didn't even count that breakdown.
Yeah, and then for the special teams, I have 3, but there was only 4 originally. So right now, of the 91-man roster, I have 21 locks.
Okay, I've got 21 on offense, and I've got 3 on defense, so I've got 24 locks. Personally, but I had my locks though were I had locked in that were different from you. I had locked in Justin Watson. I also had locked in Evan Smith and Leonard Wester to make the roster as well. I think just their experience is going to win out over some of these other guys. I just feel like they're going to be back.
I don't think you know what the word locked means.
I feel like they're a lock for the roster. I really do. I know exactly what that means.
All right.
I mean, you have to put the asterisk next to every single one of these guys, unless they have a really bad camp. Or
no.
Yeah.
Unless they get injured.
Unless something.
If they have a really bad camp, they weren't a lock.
Yeah,
like Mike Evans could drop every single pass in the camp in preseason, and he's going to make the roster. That's a lock. Jameis Winston is going to make the roster, no matter what he does. Leonard Wester could get beat out easily.
You think so?
I don't say easily, but would it shock you?
Okay, all right. Leonard Wester, maybe I got a little punchy with my pink highlighter here. But Evan Smith, come on. You really think that there's a possibility he's going to make it out of camp not on this roster?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, if they keep 9, I've got 6 locks.
Uh-huh.
So that leaves 3. Sweezy, we don't know. I think it'd be released, but he could.
Gone.
Maybe.
He's gone. Okay.
Well, they've surprised us, but maybe. True. So they could go Sweezy, Wester, Leakey.
Seaton. Let's go Seaton.
Or Seaton.
Yeah.
Or Geddes. Like, Evan Smith is there because he can play guard and he can play center and he has lots of starts and lots of experience. He's not there because he's the next best guy on the team. This could be the year where, Evan, like we talked about with Alan Cross, and we talked about with Jaquez Rogers. This could be the year where they get pushed out. Would you be surprised if Evan Smith didn't make the team?
Yes, I would. Because of where they've used him before in the past and the fact that they brought him back this year, I would be surprised. Now, I might be happy if he doesn't make the team, but I'd still be surprised.
I think Alex Kappa and the way they're talking about how they're going to cross-train him already, and you have Caleb Benenoch, and you sign Ryan Jensen. Now your backup center becomes Ali Marpet. You're going to keep a guy on just because he's the third center when you have. I mean, I don't know. I mean, because I was shocked when they brought him back in the first place. Yeah, well. To be honest with you, I was. Yeah,
and he gave away the Packers game. If you remember, you said yourself he still has a house in Green Bay, and for the rest of his life he never has to buy another drink in the city of Green Bay after the Buccaneers game.
Yeah, he just has to wear that jersey, his Buccaneers Evan Smith jersey, out to a bar. Yeah. He'll never pay for a drink. Yeah, okay. I forgot all about that. All right. Anyway,
let's move off this. Let's get over to the defensive side of the ball. We'll start up front. We'll start in the trenches. We'll start where all the magic is going to happen. The defensive line, we're going to combine tackles and nose guards and ends. It's just going to be one big unit. Who do you got for locks? Who are you watching on this massive list of people here?
Yeah, right. There's 16 defensive linemen in camp. I think this is going to be the hardest one to make, honestly. Like, this one might be locked before they even go to OTAs. I haven't counted them out yet. But let's see. I got Bo Allen. I got Vin Curry. I got Golson. I got McCoy. I got JPP. I got Noah Spence. I got Vita Vea. And Mitch Unrein. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's it. It's 8. There's your 8. That leaves out Stevie T. You know, that leaves out Channing Ward, Devontae Lambert, Patrick O'Connor, unfortunately. And they got some guy, Damone Harris, Evan Parisot, Antonio Simmons. You know, it just, but if they've, 8 is about where it is. And a lot of these guys can play inside and outside. So, and if that talk of like the 3-3-5 is true, which I'm finding less and less likely, because it came from Warren Sapp, who swears that
he's lost all credibility with you, hasn't he? Over the whole fat guy can't play in Florida.
He never had a lot. I mean, I liked Sapp as a Buccaneer, as a person. Like, you know, how many jobs do you have to get fired from you know, by saying outlandish stuff and doing outlandish stuff before you just like quit listening to what the guy has to say? Now, yes, Warren Sapp knows that's forgotten more football than I ever know. I get that, but I just don't take his opinion. Like, he just says things to get rise out of people, I think. So anyway, but if the 3-3-5, which Warren Sapp said he heard from inside somebody inside one Buccaneers place, that the Bucs are going to run on third down, obvious third down and passing situations, they could go with 7 guys because they're so versatile. They're not going to go with 9. You know, they're not going to add a guy. You know, they like to keep their linebackers where they are. You have, you know, that's one of those things. Like, okay, that's where this conversation is. Are we keeping 2 quarterbacks because we want to keep 9 defensive linemen? Are we keeping 3 running backs because we want to keep 9 defensive linemen?
I was just getting ready to bring that up.
Yeah. So. The guys I'll be watching, which will be people who have actually played games for, and I didn't even mention Will Clark.
Yeah. That was the big name that I was kind of waiting to see what you were going to say with him.
I missed him. I have
Will Clark, he might have been the leading sack guy for our team last year.
Leading defensive end.
Yeah.
Not defensive lineman. He had with 2.5. He was tied for the lead with sacks and didn't get to play a lot. So so I mean, these are names that, you know, Bucs fans know. Will Clark, Devontae Lambert, Channing Ward, Stevie T, like all these guys, even Patrick O'Connor, all these guys have played snaps for the Buccaneers, except for Stevie T. But he was a 7th round draft choice, and there's no place to put him. Yeah.
Oh, there's a great place to put him. It's called the practice squad. Or IR.
Yeah. Stevie T gets another IR. Oh, yeah. Hey, by the way, you've hurt your knee again.
Hey, listen, here's the case for Stevie T. He was around all last year.
Yeah.
So there's familiarity. There's all of that kind of stuff. He's a perfect IR type of guy. Not even IR. He's a perfect practice squad kind of guy. He's the perfect guy that, you know, if Mitch Unrein or Bo Allen get injured,
which one of them will?
Yes, and
but
that's the thing about this defensive line.
One of these 8 guys are going to, some are going to miss games,
right? So you know, the 2 that I'm actually looking at on that is a Stevie T and a Pat O'Connor. I feel like those are probably our biggest guys to make the practice squad. I don't know if Channing Ward has any practice squad eligibility left because my God, that guy's on a practice squad more than anybody else that I've ever heard of in my life. Devontae Lambert, you know, he's a guy who's on and off again. They drafted Stevie T. They liked Stevie T. They obviously tossed him on IR so that they could keep him and not risk him going to practice squad. You know, maybe he was injured legit, maybe not. We don't really know. We don't think he was.
We don't know.
Right.
Not for the whole year.
Yeah.
Ow, my ankle. Oh, that looks like a 16-week injury to me, son. What?
Look at my
that's what
face as I nod my head up and down. That's a 16-week injury.
They did it to Bond the year before, and they did it to Kenny Bell the year before. And this is the same narrative. Remember that narrative we heard about Kenny Bell? Oh, it's like getting another draft pick. He hung around he was in the meetings. He went to all the games, all the road trips. You just wait to see him this year.
Right. Stevie T, if you're listening to this and you don't know who Kenny Bell is, go research, because that's a warning story. What do you call that?
Cautionary tale.
Cautionary tale, yeah. Cautionary tale. So, but that being said, though, Ren, that's where I could really see us keeping a ninth person like a Will Clark, who is playing some games. But again, he's that kind of that Adam Geddes. He's the Jacquizz Rodgers, the guy we brought in off the street, kind of stuck around. But if we can upgrade him, we really need to. And hopefully Cutter's loyalty doesn't blind him to the need or ability to upgrade or not waste a roster spot on the guy.
No, he doesn't have a history with Will Clark.
He does now.
Yeah, but he had one with Robert Ayers, you know. He had one with Chris Baker, you know. Had one with Roberto Aguayo. It's just it's only guys that you know, like Martino. He was a guy from Atlanta, you know. It's since guys that he played with before. But, you know, that just sort of tells you where the roster was. Now that the roster, you know, like I said, the competition is improving. These guys are starting to fall off. But, you know, I was glad they were there when we found them, you know.
So this defensive line deal, you know, you and I think are really agreed. The locks are really locked in. The line is going to be what the line is. It's really who is that rotational bottom guy when somebody gets injured, because somebody will get injured. Who is the person who steps in?
Right. Who's going to be able to hang out in the practice squad without getting plucked?
Right.
You know.
Right. And
they might go 9. They got to go 8. Like they have to go.
They have to go 8. Right.
They have to. They can't. I mean, they could get away with 7, but they have to. Who are you going to let go? I mean, maybe Unrein, because he's gotten the least fanfare. But I don't really know what his contract is.
He's got like a 3-year contract, and
but how much is guaranteed?
I don't know. He's got like a 3-year contract that's $3, $4, $5 million. You know, it's small comparative to other guys, but it's still not. You know, it's not. You know, bring the guy in and throw it away. You know, because for all of these guys, if they're on the 53-man roster at the first day of the season, their contract is guaranteed for the year. So, that would be, you know, that I don't
like the biggest argument against Golston, because if Golston has a training camp the way he played last year, you know, you could be like, okay, adios. But the way Golston's contract is set up, it's $6 million and it's guaranteed. It's fully already.
He's not going anywhere. He's not. And I expect Golston to have a bounce back year.
I hope so.
I really, it's that whole. People talk about it. It's real. Ian Beckles on his show talked about it, of just being a real thing, that when somebody gets that big fat payday, that next year tends to be a down year, and then the year after that tends to be a comeback year. So, Mike Evans, please don't go down that route. But that is, you know, Cam Brate, please also don't go down that route. But he did mention that seems to be the case. So hopefully this would be a year that Will Golston has a bit of a resurgence. If I remember right, didn't Will Golston also have some personal stuff last year? Like stuff with his mom or his dad or something like that. Oh no, he had an injury. He had a weird injury thing from last year. Remember that big scary neck injury that he had? At some point, kept him out.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, no, sure.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Linebacker.
Right.
Position. This is a spot that here in the offseason has seen a little bit of injury bug hitting it. So we better have some people on the back out spot, especially if we're going to be moving this 3-3-5 or 3-5-5 or whatever. 3-5-5, that's 13 men. No, not doing that. So who do you got locked in at linebacker? Who are you watching? This might be one of the more interesting groups to watch.
Was I saying 3-5-5?
Or you were saying that the word around one buck is that they're going 3-5-5 on obvious third down and passing situations. Not 3-5-5, 3-3-5.
Thank you. Okay. I want to make sure I said it right. I'm like, 3-5. Did I say that? Locks, 3.
Okay.
Quan Beckwith and Levante David.
Okay.
Now, people who I think will probably make the team is going to be Bond, Adarius Taylor.
Formerly
Glanton. And then that's about it. And then sort of that last spot, I like to with this Sitchi kid from Wisconsin does. Apparently he's
hasn't played in 2 years.
Hasn't played in almost 2 years, yeah.
Right.
Apparently, he's sort of got the nose for the ball, downhill guy. Just makes a lot of tackles. He sounds a lot like Adarius Taylor is what he sounds like. Of course, you got Riley Bulla. We'll like to see how, if he's improved his technique and be able to, do some pass protection. There's a guy named Nigel Harris. Jeff Knox, we've heard of him a lot.
He's been around.
Cameron Lynch keeps coming back. And then this guy is already going to make the team. I'm never going to pronounce his name right. Eric Nitschke.
Okay. This is the guy from Germany, right?
Yeah. What are they? Doctors Without Borders. This is the NFL Players Without Borders thing, the international program they do.
Yeah.
They've actually extended it this year to another. It's the NFC South again. So they get 91-man roster, and then they get a 11-man practice squad roster because this guy doesn't count against the salary cap, and he doesn't count against your numbers as far as your roster goes, but he can be never called up from the practice squad.
Right.
Yeah. So Eric Nitschke is always going to make the team, but it'll just get out of there. So my locks are Quan Beckwith and David, and then probably Bond. I want to throw Bond in there as a lock as well. And then, I think Adarius Taylor make it. Cameron Lynch will probably make it. Jack Sicci, I think Bull is going to go back to the practice squad. Cameron Lynch, there's a lot of athletic guys on there. But the reason they like to keep linebackers is because they're great special teams players. They're like that tweener. They got the size and they got the speed. So.
Yeah, I've got the same locks as you, Levante Quan and Beckwith. I've got with a strong possibility of Adarius Taylor. I don't have Devontae Bond on here, although you're probably right. I don't know that he's a lock, but he's probably the closest to a lock. Even though I really don't like saying that because I'm still pissed at him from last year.
If that 3-3, if that 3-3-5 is an actual thing, I would feel comfortable putting Bond as a lock because in junior college he played defensive end and he had more sacks than games played. Something I've been saying for a couple of years, but he can't get on the field. Last year got on the field and he hurt his shoulder. Yeah,
and then let guys through for touchdowns on special teams. Anyway, Lynch, I like Cam Lynch a lot. It's probably the Hard Knocks effect, a little bit left over. He was one of the featured guys on Hard Knocks last year. But he's a guy who kind of like Devontae Lambert from the defensive line. He's been on and off the team over the years. Jeff Knox, he was a practice squad guy a bit last year. Kind of on and off the team as well. But the Jack Sitchi, this is the only one of the
it's a wild card.
Yeah, he's the only one of our draft picks that I don't have down as a lock. I think everybody else is making it. He'll be a guy to watch. So I'm kind of watching those guys. I want to see how Adarius Taylor bounces back from his injury. He had a pretty graphic injury last year. If memory serves.
He's 100%. I just saw him at a bowling thing.
Cool.
Yeah, he's 100%.
So we thought J.R. Sweezy was going to be 100% though too. So I just as far as saying who am I watching for, I'm watching him.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, I'm with you. Quan Beckwith, Bond, David. Right behind that, Adarius Taylor, and then they have that group of Cameron Lynch and Sicci, and then right below them, Jack Knox, Riley Bulla, and then poor Nigel Harris is just kind of left out in the cold.
Yeah. The thing about Riley is, I remember how much everybody liked him, but what I can never get out of my head is, again, it's kind of the Hard Knocks thing, is Mike Smith sitting up in the booth during one of the games saying, speaking of Riley specifically, saying that's why he's not going to make the team.
But he didn't say it. They cut it. He said
that's why he's not gonna
make the click.
Right. So I muted his mic. So it's to see. Like, I kind of almost wish we had Hard Knocks back again this year because I want to see him talking. No, I don't, but kind of do. I'm interested to see what they're going to do with Riley. All right. So those are our linebackers. Just 2 more spots left on the team. We'll just go back. The cornerbacks, this is another what you going to do kind of a group here. So who do you got as locks? Who are we watching for in camp?
Yeah, who do you have as locks? Jeez. Interesting enough, Josh Robinson is back at cornerback. At least he's listed.
Well, he was last year.
No, he was safety last year.
No, they moved him back. Oh.
No, he was a cornerback 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then when they switched Ryan Smith to cornerback, they put him to safety. Now he's back at corner.
Interesting.
Anyway. Yep. People forget that guy's like fast. That guy's like elite fast, and that's why they like him on coverage. But my lock.
He was a special teams captain last year, right?
I believe so. Yeah. Once Shep left, he took up the mantle. All right, I got locks. I got Grimes. I got Hargraves. Can't believe I'm saying that.
I can't believe that's even a question. First round draft pick.
That's the only reason why he's a lock,
year. Right, but
that's the only reason he's a lock because he's. Look, I was thinking about this today. Brent Hargraves was trash and has been trash since he's been a Buck. Let's face it, he's been terrible. If he was a 6th round pick, people would be like, "Why is this guy still on the team?" But he's a 1st round. You give him like, well, he has to develop. It's a hard position. Look how good he is at nickel. Now I hope he comes out of it and learns it. But as far as the actual play on the field, it's been bad. So. But we don't have that many people to replace him. But yeah, that's the only reason he's a lock is because he's a 1st round draft pick.
Right.
Carlton Davis, the draft pick out of Auburn, I'm circling. I'm circling MJ Stewart, the draft pick out of North Carolina.
I don't know, and Carlton Davis doesn't have the body build that we know that Mike Smith likes for cornerback.
He's too tall. You're too tall, strong, fast, and athletic. What are you doing?
To guard really tall, fast, strong, and athletic wide receivers.
I think that's poor MJ Stewart. He keeps getting overlooked because everyone's just so excited about Carlton Davis' body type. And, it's just like there was a reason why
Stewart got drafted before Carlton Davis.
Yeah,
right?
And then they traded down and then drafted Carlton Davis.
Right.
So I'm really anxious to watch this MJ Stewart guy because in his conference call he actually says like, yeah, they've talked about me playing safety a little bit. But I think he's best suited for the slot, which then, I mean, we're not going to talk about it now, but then where Hargrave goes and what's going on. But for locks, I think that's it. I think Josh Robinson's job is up. His roster spot is up for grabs. He'll probably make special teams. I think Ryan Smith's roster spot is up for grabs. If a guy like Javian Elliott, who's been hanging around, played good nickel for us. Maurice Fleming is back. That guy you probably love from Hard Knocks. Remember the guy that blew his knee out in the Jacksonville game? He's back. That was really because he was the guy who was getting up the crack of dawn and dirt cutters see him out his window. I'm excited to watch him. And I don't really know anything about this David Rivers guy. But as far if they keep, what do they keep? 5? 6? I don't remember. Well, we're not really doing that. But as far as locks, that's it. I can really spin a scenario where
4 locks is all you've got. So that's why we go through this, because at 4 locks, we know that they're going to keep 5, maybe 6. So the rest of these guys, Javian Elliott, Maurice Fleming, Josh Robinson, David Rivers, and Ryan Smith, that's what 5 guys are competing for relatively 1, maybe 2 roster spots. David Rivers, I have nothing. Now, I personally am locking in Ryan Smith, and Javian Elliott is very much I'm going to watch him. I think he's going to get pushed out because Javian Elliott, the only thing that we've ever known him as a slot guy. He's never been an outside guy. Hargraves has been a guy that has really kind of come in, started coming on. I don't want to get into it with you as to whether or not Vernon has been trash. I don't know that I would go that far and that harsh with it, but he certainly has not been a number 11 pick. He has not lived up to expectations for a number 11 pick. I will give you that.
Okay. We won't get into it, but let me put it this way. The way he has played, in your mind, what pick do you think you could be, oh, well, he's that pick, so it's okay? Like you say second round, or is that still too high from the way he played?
From the way he's played so far?
Yeah.
I mean, essentially what you're asking is what is the tipping point between with the way he's played, we'd cut him versus we're going to keep him because of where he was drafted? Like, what's that tipping point, right? Like, that's kind of your question. I would say, see, it's so hard for me to say because I'm going to go back to something I've said a number of times on this. Before he got injured last year, he started coming on strong. At nickel. And he also he had a great showing on the outside during a games when Brent Grimes, and I don't know that he's ever going to get back to that spot, but he did enough in that one game that I kind of want to see him over there. And there seems to be this thing in Mike Smith's defense where he doesn't take his best guy and have him trail the best wide receiver. Brent Grimes is on the left side. Whoever the hell else is on the right side, this left side seems to be our strong side on defense. And when Vernon Hargreaves was on that side, however the plays are designed, he seemed to do okay over there. So
I forgot about that. He did play. That was probably his best game as a cornerback when he got to play left corner.
Yeah, so I'm interested in that.
As an outside cornerback.
That is enough to me. Now, the rest of his injury, was he really injured for the rest of the year, or were we kind of Stevie T-ing him, for the last 6 games or so of the year last year? I don't really know.
I think he was really injured.
I think he was injured at first. Did he continue to be injured later on in the year? I just don't know.
Good point.
Could he have come back and they said, well, he aggravated it again?
So third round? Fourth round?
Well, let me put it this way.
Round?
Let me put it this way. You said that Ryan Smith's job is up for grabs. Right. And Ryan Smith was a 4th round pick.
Correct.
A couple years ago. I think that's fair. So I would say if Vernon Hargreaves was a 4th round pick, I think for sure his job would be up for grabs right now. Okay. I think 3rd round and higher. I think he's a disappointment, but he's also getting more chances to prove himself.
Gotcha.
So as not to waste it, because I still go back to, I don't care who you are. We need to get you through your rookie contract before we can properly judge you.
Yeah.
And that goes for Jameis, Cam Brate, Adam Humphries, and Vernon Hargreaves. And Vernon Hargreaves is just now over the halfway point of his rookie contract. So, and that would also go for Javian Elliott, Ryan Smith.
It's a big year for Hargreaves because after this year, it's when the Bucs have to decide to pick up his 5th-year option or not.
Yeah.
So this is a really good year for him.
Yeah, if he does not have a stellar year, like if he doesn't become okay, we talk about the lockdown corner. You don't have a lockdown slot position, do you? Like I don't know what you talk about that. And I'm not saying he has to be Rondé Barber-esque, but he kind of has to be Rondé Barber-esque in the slot and be like, no, this kid could be like the best slot corner or really come on again at the outside. But, I think this Carlton Davis guy.
Think about it this way.
Yeah.
By the end of the year, Hargreaves could be riding the bench because you could have Carlton Davis on one side, Grimes on the other, and this MJ Stewart kid beat him out at nickel. Unless
MJ Stewart's going to slide back into the safety position, which we'll talk about here real soon. Because, that to me is that's the question mark of what happens with MJ Stewart. Where do they wind up putting him there, which will depend on what really happens with Ryan Smith. I think Javian Elliott's going to wind up getting pushed out, so I'm interested to see what they wind up doing with him. This Maurice Fleming kid seemed to, love his heart. I don't think he's going to make a 53-man roster. I think he's practice squad fodder for the practice squad for sure. But I do think that Ryan Smith is a lock to make this team. And that's not even an unless. I think Ryan Smith will make this team.
I think he will too. I don't think it's a lock.
Yeah. Did he come in the same year as Hargreaves?
Was this his 3rd year? Yeah, he did.
We had two cornerbacks that year. So
yeah.
Because they kind of the MJ Stewart deal. They drafted him because they wanted him to play safety. It didn't work out. They moved him back. All right. Speaking of safety, Ren, let's go ahead and wrap up this this roster as we're looking at it. Safety position. Who do you got locked in? Who are we watching for that final safety spot?
This is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Because I got locked in. I got Evans locked.
Yeah.
That's it.
Really? Okay.
Well, locked. But I think everyone else can, but these are the people that are going to. All right. Evans, Conti, right behind him. After that, I'm going to say Whitehead, unless he falls on his face, but I really think he's going to do it. And I think this could be it all about how this. Those are my 3 guys that are going to make the roster for sure. Absolutely. If you made me pick a fourth, I would say Tandy. Right. But this Godwin kid is getting a lot of buzz, and he'll be the one Godwin Igwebuike. Yep. He's the one I'll really be paying attention to. We got Isaiah Johnson back, a kid named Josh Liddell as well. But
I think Liddell was around for the practice squad last year.
His name sounds familiar.
Yeah. Isaiah Johnson spent most of last year on the practice squad.
Right.
So those guys, again, those are those guys that kind of bounce around. You keep looking to upgrade them. Whatever happens with him. Keith Tandy is the interesting one to me here, because I'm with you. Keith, I think this could be a year that Keith Tandy does not make the final roster, or the initial roster. Again, I go back to that whole MJ Stewart. I think it depends on what they want to try to do with him.
I think MJ Stewart is going to start at corner. I don't think. This is what I'm thinking in my mind. I have no evidence of this whatsoever. He's going to be a cross-trained player, but I think his job is going to be cornerback. Right. But if injuries hit safety, he could bounce back there and play some games. Or if injuries, and if injuries hit cornerback, he'll get to play more. That's what I think. Right. So I don't think that he's going to come in and be like, hey, day one, go line up with the safeties.
Right. Because I'll say this. As far as the safety position goes, while I think he is a lock to make this roster, another guy that I think they continually try to upgrade is Chris Conti.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Ren, you and I have been, I don't want to say we have been defenders of Chris Conti, but we also have not been Conti bashers at all.
Right.
Like, Conti is not as bad as people want to make him out to be.
Well, that first year we were.
That is true.
Yeah, the first year we were, but but to be fair, that his first year, the second half of the season was much better, and then last year he was like most consistent safety we had.
You're right, which especially with the huge disappointment that was T.J. Ward, Chris Conti was at least consistent. But regardless of that, and this is nothing against Conti, he is just a guy that I think they're trying to upgrade. I think they also realize that Chris Conti is not going to be around much longer. Like, I don't know where he is in terms of age or the league or anything like that, but, he's not a guy that we're going to keep around for the next 10 years or 7 years or 8 years. But
or 2 years, because they keep giving him 1 year deals.
Exactly. This Godwin Igwebuike. Yeah. That guy, if all the hyper, and he's the one I'm really interested in on this list.
Right. Me too.
Isaiah Johnson, he's a practice squad guy I don't really care about. Josh Liddell, practice squad guy I don't really care about. This Godwin guy, though, really there just seems to be all this hype, and I don't really even know what all the hype is. I just keep hearing it, and so I'm super interested to see. And if he's the guy to come in and kind of be that new found kid, that new, Adam Humphries, Cameron Brate, guy, Darius Glenn kind of guy, Antonio Auclair kind of guy, that'd be really cool. And if you get a Justin Evans, if he's, turns it on, and we keep this Jordan Whitehead kid that we drafted, that you got those 3 guys there. Again, you have that MJ Stewart, you got Chris Conti still there. So it'll be an interesting thing. But I do think that our draft pick, though, Ren, and Chris Conti, I think that they are both locks for this roster. I only have 3 locked in for the safety spot. I think that 4th spot is really up for grabs.
Yeah, those are the 3 I have locked in.
Yeah.
As well. And yeah, you nailed it. It's I really think it's going to be, can Godwin Igwe show the coaching staff enough to make Tandy expendable? But Tandy's a pro. He's going to be ready. When you put him in, he's going to know what he's supposed to do. He's not going to blow an assignment. Mm-hmm. He's just, but he's just not going to make plays except for 5 interceptions in 4 games.
Right.
But I've said this a bunch of times on the pod, and I don't get it either. So I'm not like saying, as Bucs fans, we're like, well, why doesn't Tandy get a shot? Like, why doesn't he get a shot as a starter? But what I keep saying is he's only played for the Buccaneers his whole career.
Right.
This is his 3rd defensive coordinator, and he still hasn't won a starting job.
Right.
So those excuses like, well, that guy didn't like him, or he didn't fit that scheme well, or this or that. Yes, he had an amazing 5-game run. I get it. I was expecting, as everybody else, okay, next year, it's going to be Tandy back there with Conti. We'll see, we got T.J. Ward. So it's going to be Tandy and T.J. Ward, and then when Evans comes in, and never saw the field again, and didn't even really get a shot from day one. He wasn't out there starting.
Yeah,
from day one from OTA. So.
Yep.
This, he's in there with Joaquin Rogers and Alan Cross, and
I get the feeling that he's the guy, kind of like Cutter was saying with Evan Smith and Kevin Pamphile. Actually, I think he might have been talking about this position as well. Keith Tandy he is the guy who never went in and took it.
I never heard that from Cutter.
I feel like I might be wrong. I might be way wrong, but I feel like he might have been referencing Tandy a little bit and talking about that as well. It's just that he just wasn't that. He didn't ever go in and just seize the spot away from.
But how can you say that? Because he gets 5 interceptions in 4 games. I mean, what else can you do? 2 of them were game-winning.
No, 2 years ago. He did that 2 years ago. I'm talking about last year.
They didn't give the chance. That was the whole thing. He was already second string day one at camp.
Right, but in camp and in practice, he never sees that opportunity, which, by the way, Kevin Pamphile, the year before, was your starting left guard, and for whatever reason, they did this platoon system, and the reason turns out is because neither him or Evan Smith bubbled up over top of the other one. They didn't seize the spot, and I feel like he was referencing both kind of positions of what happened. I might be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, yeah, I think we're in agreement on Tandy, though. We absolutely are. So, all right, Ren. Well, that is our team. That is a rundown of the roster. It really, according to my count and the people that I have locked in, I've got 46 players locked in, Ren, which is our game day active roster, which means the only positions that are up for grabs, and that's why we kind of went through this. There's very few positions that are really up for grabs, and there's a lot of guys that are going to be circling that pond to try to get those. And, I think that's kudos to Jason Light for how he has filled these holes.
Right.
What was it? Who was it? Our last show that we did with the post draft mega show, where somebody said that until all of your guys are competing for the number 2 spot.
Someone said that in chat.
In chat, yeah, somebody.
It was about the wide receivers. Why did we draft another wide receiver? And someone in Gene's chat said, until all your guys can be a number 2 wide receiver, you're not good enough yet. Right, and that's not just wide receiver. That's across every position. And I think that's a lot of what we're seeing here is Jason Light. We have upgraded from these. We have A players, we have B players, whereas before we had some A players and then we had some C and D players. We skipped over that middle, and we have a lot more of those B level players now to really go in and solidify this roster. So, I'm still withholding my judgment and all of that for Game 6 of the season to see how it actually shakes out. I'm not getting. I'm getting excited. I'm definitely excited to see what's going on. I'm excited to. I have a lot of anticipation, I guess I should say. I'm excited to get back to football, but you're not going to hear me predicting. Deep playoff runs and potential Super Bowl victory
based off this roster. Not until week 6 anyway.
All right. Fair enough. I have 40 players locked. So I need 6 more for game day and 13 more for, and there's a lot of guys out there, that I didn't give locks to, like Tandy, like Josh Robinson, like Ryan Smith,
right?
Darius Taylor, Stevie T, Bobo Wilson, Justin Watson, Sims or Rogers, so there's like, like you were just saying about Evan Smith, Sweezy, Wester, Alan Cross. There's plenty of names that you were going to know. I mean, yeah, it's tight, man. This is not your dad's Buccaneer roster. That's for sure.
No, not at all. All right, Red. Well, that is going to wrap up this episode. So that's going to get us.
All right.
I like it. That's our hour. So with that, I guess this is where we go to the thing that we say of now Bucs fans. We'd like to know your thoughts on our thoughts. You can do that by shooting us an email to ThePewterCast@gmail.com. What do you think? Who are the players that you are looking for that are going to be those bubble players to fill in that bottom 10, 12 spots of the roster that will probably get continually turned up over the course of the season?
Who will you be watching?
Yeah, who will you be watching? Email us, ThePewterCast@gmail.com. Find us out on the Twitter sphere at ThePewterCast or Facebook.com/ThePewterCast. We do respond to all forms of feedback. You can also, by the way, leave us messages on our YouTube channel. I've recently found out Podbean as well. So we do respond to all those forms of feedback, and it's one of the more fun aspects of being a part of this Bucs fan community. Well, Ren, as we get out of here, any final thoughts, and where can the people out there find you on the internet?
Yeah. Can we capture this video from Google Hangouts and make it our YouTube channel instead of just having the emblem?
It's possible. I need to get with Gene and figure out exactly how that works. But actually, I probably could do it without Gene, but I'd like,
it'd be easier with him.
It'd be easier with him, yeah.
Fair enough. You can find me on Twitter.
If you guys want to watch us, we'll see
I mean, there's a handful of Buccaneers channels out there, and I watch some of them. Some of them I don't. But I'm always a little bit, I don't want to say shocked, but I'm pleasantly surprised about how many views some of these people get. Like people get up there, like they'll put out like a 20-minute video and they get like 2,000 views, and it's like, we should take advantage of that. We should take advantage of that instead of just having the PewterCast emblem up there. Anyway, best and easiest way is to find me on Twitter at Rendax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football.
If you guys want to get a hold of me personally, you can find me at Brent Allen Live across all the social medias. And, of course, like I said, you can get in touch with us at the show's account at ThePewterCast on Facebook, on Twitter as well. Well, guys, until next time, we've got another show that's going to come out kind of on the heels of this one, Ren. We're going to, it's not really a part 2, but the next one's going to be, we've got some feedback. It's going to be like a mailbag episode, I guess. I hate that phrase, but it'll be sort of that type of episode. So be on the lookout. That's coming out here, probably come out next week sometime. So you guys be on the lookout for that. And until then, go Bucs.
What's the French word for mailbag? Maybe we can just call it that. Le chapeau. That's hat, but you know what I'm saying.
Le mailbag. Le mailbage.
Le mailbage show.